Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions. But instead, I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague, Becca Ballant, if she will answer right or wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter, so let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contained more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, this is a good one. Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history. An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized, excuse me, gentleman from Kansas, the Attorney General, former Attorney General, Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General Bondi, thanks for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we talk?
I do. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions, because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted. So what we talking about? Convict some of these perpetrators that rape these women that are sitting behind you, that you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds back to make up for the yelling? Thank you. General, did you have anything further to say?
Texas, convicted of homicide, Cecil Joseph from Dominican Republic. Texas, convicted for kidnapping, rape, Khalid Khan from Afghanistan. That's why they want to talk about Epstein and not what's happening in their own states.
All right, y'all. So this clip is exactly the kind of hearing moment that doesn't just go viral. It splits the room in half and dares you to pick a side, because Jasmine Crockett comes in with a move you almost never see done this blunt. She basically says, I'm not even going to pretend this is a normal Q&A, and then turns the hearing into a moral courtroom. She doesn't start with policy. She starts with right and wrong. Simple, unavoidable. Raping children, right or wrong? Killing random citizens, right or wrong? Enriching yourself as president, right or wrong? And she's not even asking the witness. She's asking a colleague, because the point is, she's framing the witness as someone who won't say the obvious out loud. That's not a debate tactic. That's an indictment. And then she pivots into the real core of her message, the survivors. Notice how she corrects the language. Not victims, survivors. That's not just word choice, that's power. She's telling the room, we're not going to reduce these people to what happened to them. We're going to name them as people who lived through it. And right after that, she drops the hammer. She says the DOJ has less moral clarity than the survivors' pinky fingers. That line is designed to sting. It's designed for clips. It's designed for headlines. And it works, because she's not trying to be liked in that moment. She's trying to make the hearing feel like a moral emergency. Then comes the bigger accusation. She says the witness claims she came in to end weaponization and return DOJ to its mission. But Crockett flips it and says, you did the opposite. And the way she sells it is by creating a priority scandal. She alleges DOJ is spending more energy going after journalists than going after predators. Whether you agree or not, you can't miss what she's doing. She's building a story that the government's power is being used downward against speech, protest, and accountability, while the people at the top are protected. And then, here's where this turns into a full-on political grenade. She goes to Epstein and Trump. She frames it like a prosecutor. Facts matter. Fact number one, fact number two. That facts matter phrase is important because she's anticipating pushback. She's not presenting it like gossip. She's presenting it like a case file. Now, the problem in moments like this is that it becomes a massive claim dump. Numbers, references, alleged notes, alleged interactions, all in one stream. In a real hearing, that's hard to verify in real time. And in a real public conversation, that's where people either say, finally someone said it, or this is reckless. But politically, it's an escalation designed to force a choice. Are we talking about corruption and cover-ups, or are we pretending none of this exists? And after she hits Epstein, she doesn't stop. She stacks more allegations like a rapid-fire montage, voter data, rogue agents, bribery tape, unconstitutional payday. That's the overwhelm strategy. It's not meant to be answered in 30 seconds. It's meant to leave the audience thinking, how is any of this normal? Now let's talk about Bondi's response, because the counter strategy is just as clear. She doesn't accept Crockett's framing. She tries to flip it into hypocrisy, Your leader took money. You don't want to talk about what's happening in your state. And then she reads out a list of violent crimes and convictions. That's not really a rebuttal to Crockett's claims. It's a reframe. It's basically, you're focused on Epstein, I'm focused on crime. It's meant to pull the emotional center of gravity away from the hearing's accusations and toward public safety fear. And then the Republican member closes with the spectacle label, classic. That's the cleanup language. This was sad. This was performance. The witness served professionally. That's how you try to neutralize the moment after it explodes. You call it theater, so the audience doubts what they just felt. So what's the real story here? This wasn't a hearing exchange. This was a clash between two competing narratives. Crockett is saying DOJ is corrupted and protecting power. Bondi is saying they're grandstanding while real crime happens. And the reason it hits so hard is because Crockett isn't just criticizing, she's accusing. She's putting the DOJ's legitimacy on trial, and she's doing it in a way that's built for the internet. Simple moral questions, emotional appeals to survivors, and a facts list that dares anyone to shut it down without looking like they're covering something up. If you're turning this into a vlog segment, the angle that will make it pop is this. Crockett didn't come to ask questions. She came to expose what she believes is a broken system, and she used the hearing like a spotlight, not a courtroom. And that's the bottom line. This wasn't just a heated exchange in a committee room. It was a raw public collision between two visions of what justice even means in America right now. Jasmine Crockett turned the hearing into a moral reckoning, calling out what she sees as a DOJ that punches down on speech and protest while protecting power at the top. Pam Bondi tried to flip the frame, steering the conversation toward crime and real-world danger, and Republicans rushed in to label the whole thing a spectacle. But whether you agree with Crockett, Bondi, or neither, one thing is undeniable. The country is watching institutions fight over credibility in real time, and the stakes aren't abstract. So I want to hear from you. Did Crockett cross a line, or did she say what too many people are afraid to say out loud? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you want more breakdowns like this, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, because this story isn't over.